Okay. He's speaking about how does one to come to Avos Hashem. The preliminaries or the prerequisites for a person who believes in God to bring himself to love God. He says one needs two forms of wholehearted devotion. Judeo Levavos. Shnei knios, two levels of submission. Ushnei cheshbonos, two levels of introspection or reflection. Ushtei bechinos, he refers to that as one is self-accounting, bechinos is reflection. Cheshbon is computation. Bechinos lafchin means to be bochin means to evaluation. What is the devotion of the heart? Two levels of devotion of the heart. One's heart is what is dedicated to Hashem, one's feelings. Now let's explain this. A person who believes in God and wants to be a good Jew. So what is his mindset, his feelings always? I want to do what God wants. That's your mind, that's your feeling. But factually, it doesn't always work out. That's what I would want. It has to manifest itself in the action. So first you have to have the feeling and the mindset. What is my perspective? What is my value? What is my purpose? This is my purpose. No other purpose. That's wholehearted devotion of what? Of perspective, of feeling. In addition, you have liyachre mas lishmo. When I do it, I do the mitzvah or do any action, do I have any self-interest other than doing it for him? I'll give you an example. A person is a good Jew, wants to do mitzvahs, wants to do everything. And he earns a living. Not speaking about a person gives charity because he wants the glory. Person goes to work, that he should be able to support his family, many other things. But simultaneously, he also wants comforts of life for himself. So there, although there's devotion to Hashem, but in the actual application of that devotion, it's not perfect. It's lacking. Because in addition to doing for God, you're doing for yourself simultaneously. I want a little more. For God, I would get along with less. But there's myself also. Therefore, I want more. I serve him only for him, not for me. There's no self-interest, no self-glory here. You could say, a person puts on tefillin every day in the morning. I mean, what self-glory is there to put on tefillin? There you could say, why do I put on tefillin? Because I have an obligation. And when I put it on because I'm obligated. So that's lishma. That is putting on tefillin lishma. I mean, the levels of what lishma is, you know. If you would know you would not be punished, would you put on tefillin? Okay, so that's a little bit of qualitatively shelo lishma, even though that's also the Shem says that's lishma. I'm still doing it for the mitzvah. It may not be qualitative lishma. Lishma means not even for the sake of reward. It's purely because God told me and commanded me to put on tefillin. That's why I put on tefillin. And that's why I say the Shema. And for no other reason. That's not because I'll receive a share in the world to come. That's another problem. That's a problem. That's lacking. That has to do with mitzvahs kavanah. Right? It may not have any value whatsoever. It's questionable. It was mentioned the Mishnah cites a Chayodam. The Mechaber Paskin rules, it remains unresolved whether mitzvah is kavanah, mitzvah is kavanah. So the Mechaber says, so therefore by Doraisas you should be machmir. Meaning if one did not do the mitzvah lishmo, for the sake of the mitzvah you should repeat it. And if it's rabbinical, based on Sofik Rabban L'Kula, one doesn't have to repeat the mitzvah. Okay? So he says, most people when they come to shul, right, do they have in mind when they say Shema or put on tefillin, they're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah? It's by rote. So if that's the case, and we're talking about the rises, the Shema, the tefillin. So what you should, they should, you mean to say that it has no value? They're not yotzei. The question whether they do a yotzei. So he says, the Chayodim says, as a limit schus, to put it in a very positive way, that yes, why do you go to shul? I go to shul to do the will of God. So that mindset that you're going to do what God wants, even though when you're actually performing the mitzvah, you don't have that in mind, the initial going, that's sufficient. That causes it to be considered that you're having in mind to do the mitzvah for the sake of the mitzvah. That's the limud schus, that's the chayyodam. Otherwise, if not for that, if a person, when he's saying this, putting it, he does by rote, he shouldn't be yotzei. But because initially what drew the person there is to do what God wants, that's enough. That's sufficient. That it meets the minimum criteria of what a mitzvah is. A 100%. Because why am I going to shul and not doing it at home? What about humility? 2 levels of humbling. You humble yourself to God. I submit to God. You humble yourself to those who fear God and to those who He chose. The second one is interesting. Why do you need that? Right? I submit to God. Why isn't submission to God enough? You need the second. Because again, as I always say, Es Hashem Elokecha Tiro. The rabbis tell me the Chachamim. God says, I want you to feel, to revere the Torah sage no less than you revere me. Because again, how do you know who I am? How do you even relate? It's all through the teachings of the Torah. So therefore, you have to revere based on the way you're going to absorb and process the information. It depends who's communicating the information to you. So if you revere the Talmud Chacham no less than Hashem, that information He gives you is the ultimate. But if you humble yourself to Him, okay, so it's the same thing. That's in essence humbling yourself to Hashem. Because now you're open, fully receptive to His teachings. Otherwise not. To be continued.
The bottom line is so that you could be influenced.
To be influenced.